Hey there guys, Dan Dix here from Press for Truth, coming at you today here in Las Vegas, Nevada, here with Marc Morano. Thank you very much for taking some time to speak with us here at Press for Truth.
Thank you, Dan. This is a great event, and I think people are going to be, we are winning this debate scientifically. Unfortunately, we're probably losing it politically at the moment, and I can explain that, but we have so many scientists that were once on the side of global warming, and just recent times have converted. James Lovelock said there'd be a few breeding pairs of couples left in the Arctic a few years back. He's now one of the biggest skeptics, attacking the United Nations, saying it's a religion, and he's recanted on live BBC television a few months ago, essentially recanted his previous book calling for global warming doom. Scientists like Judith Curry have reversed themselves. Scientists like Leonard Begstead in the UK and Daniel Botkin, who just testified in the House. It's amazing to see these scientists come out, and I talked to a few here who were initially believers as well. So this is a huge, just a huge event that's going to have ramifications around the world, because this just strengthens the skeptic network.
Well, there still is a lot of almost hatred towards this movement. Is it because the propaganda is so thick, or why do you think that is?
Well, because we're in their way. The EU Climate Commissioner Connie Hedegaard said last year that even if we're wrong on the science, we're doing right by policy. They're acknowledging that they can't win this scientific debate. Public opinion, I mean, in Australia right now, they passed a carbon tax, and now they threw out the Prime Minister. They're repealing the carbon tax, and it's called the world's hotbed of, quote, climate denial. I mean, they're losing people in Canada. Australia is talking about a coalition with Canada, New Zealand, India, and other countries to oppose UN treaties. They know, with development concerns and with the public not buying global warming, and all the polling in the US, it shows it, that they have to shift the debate. And to the extent that they care about skeptics, they want to call us Holocaust deniers, as Scott Pelley, the lead 60 Minutes and CBS News anchor, has called us. He won't interview a climate skeptic the same way he wouldn't interview a Holocaust denier if he was doing a segment on the Holocaust. They have to demonize us. They have to try to diminish us. That just shows you that we're having an impact, and we just have to go right around them. The problem right now is, regulatorily speaking, the global warming establishment learned from their failures. They learned that they can't get UN treaties ratified. They learned they couldn't get cap and trade. They tried in 2003, 2005, 2008, 2009, and they didn't put it for a vote in 2010. They couldn't get carbon taxes. So they decided to do end run. They've done the executive order through Congress, bypassing Congress. Now we have regulations on the books, and the Supreme Court, I'm not optimistic that the courts are going to strike it down, and I'm less optimistic the Republicans are going to do a damn thing about it. They're going to, especially under current leadership, they're not going to cut funding. They're just not going to do anything. I'm even pessimistic the next Republican, if we got a president, would do much. I don't trust Jeb Bush. I certainly don't trust Chris Christie. His EPA administrator endorsed Obama's EPA climate regs. So what's happened is, even the polling is showing people support this because they've done a couple important things. And this is where they have a good learning curve, and I give them credit. This is strategically brilliant. They are proposing these EPA climate regulations very simply as clean air carbon pollution regulations. That's going to fight asthma, help kids get, make kids less sick, and so the public is buying it. This is this is the EPA shutting down dirty power plants, and we're going to have cleaner air now, and there's nothing about global warming, and people are buying it. And I don't think Republicans have this, and I don't think Obamacare is going to be repealed. I certainly don't think the EPA regulations will be repealed. If they are, they might be temporarily weakened, only to be strengthened by an ex-president. This is a major legislative, regulatory advance for the global warming movement. It happened right under our noses. Much like the analogy to Vietnam, we won every battle from the platoon level up, but lost the war because we pulled out, regardless of what you thought of the war. Here, skeptics have literally won every battle, but we might be losing the war, at least domestically in the United States. Australia should be our beacon of hope.
Well, moving forward in the future, what sorts of things do we need to do in order to get this movement on track, especially and down to the individual level? For people who are watching this who want to get involved in this movement, what can people do?
Well, for one thing, I think the greatest thing that individual citizens did was, after the cap and trade climate bill passed in June of 2009, the congressmen who voted for it went home to their districts. It was and they were faced hostile, well, they were called town halls at the time, and that was sort of where the Tea Party movement was born out of. Every time, particularly conservative Democrat district, like people like the House Agricultural Chairman Colin Ferguson went home to his district in Minnesota, and he was booed, jeered, ridiculed, laughed at when he talked about global warming and how we needed to act, and he did the climate bill, because it wouldn't even affect global CO2 level, let alone global temperature, let alone anything else. But it was going to have massive impacts on our energy and economy. And Republicans like Mike Castle went home, they got voted out, they got terrified. We had Democrats say they would not vote for it again because the hostility they met, just from, I'm talking 30 people groups, 100 people meetings, the individual one-on-one, the hostility and the expression of outrage that they would vote for something this ridiculous. You can never discount that. Even if it's 12 people in a room and it's a congressman, they will remember that, they will feel that anger. That's one of the greatest things you can do. But right now, it's a very difficult issue because they've conflated the issue of carbon pollution with clean air, and people think the EPA regs are all about clean air, and they're not even aware of it, and they don't have any idea what it's going to cost, and they haven't really started implementing it yet. This is a more long-term strategy, and Congress doesn't really have, other than the power of the purse, a direct route. They can try to ban this, and then a president can veto it. It's going to have to be an issue in the next presidential election, and unfortunately, the way the Republican primary process works, we usually end up with the worst possible candidate. It's usually the moderate to liberal Republican running against the 5 or 6 conservatives who split up all the votes. That's how we end up with, frankly, George W. Bush and John McCain and Mitt Romney, and I fear that's how we're going to end up with Chris Christie.
Mm-hmm. Well, things seem to be on track. I mean, just the scope of this conference shows that things are coming together. Where can people go to learn more from you?
For me, my website's climatedepot.com. We're also doing an answer to an inconvenient truth at climatehustle.com, a new documentary on global warming. So I urge you to take a look at that website. We got the trailer. We're going to have some clips up very soon. And that is going to be appealing to mainstream America. We're going to be going after those sort of undecided people. We're going to show them the absurdity that is the global warming movement today.
Awesome. Looking forward to the film. Thank you very much for speaking with us.
Thank you. All right, Dan. Thanks a lot.